Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. Tell me what comes into your mind.
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense. What happened?
I sensed darkness. This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
What is that?
And what is up, you guys? Welcome to this Thursday Night Live. Hope everyone is doing well. Got a different setup here. Going mobile with the setup for tonight. But hope everyone's doing well. Say hey, Asher.
Hey.
It's his bedtime, so he's getting ready to go to sleep. But hope everyone's doing good on this Thursday night. Got a great live ahead, a great podcast ahead.
Hello.
And we are waiting for special guest, annual co-host, actually normal co-host, Evan Elliott to join. And it's going to be a good one, so hope everyone's doing great.
Hello.
But yep, welcome to the show.
Hey.
All right, Asher, they heard you. Hush, hush.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course. So, hope you guys subscribe to the show. We are officially a few days out from probably a week out. We are just about a week out from, no, actually 2 or 3 days out from The Acolyte. So that is Star Wars' first High Republic series, their first venture into this High Republic era.
Don't forget the animated Batman.
Don't forget to watch the animated Batman as well, Asher says. So if you're not watching animated Batman, watch it. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, we're a few days out from The Acolyte. There's so much discourse going on. There's so much anger.
X-Men.
And don't forget the X-Men either. Don't forget the X-Men. There's so much discussion and so much discourse going on because of the situation behind The Acolyte. And me and Evan are going to get into that too. I got to have some water, buddy. Also, we're getting into more of Marvel, trying to see if the MCU is going to rebound and with Deadpool and Wolverine, and can it reach its former glory with X-Men and Wolverine? So it's going to definitely be an interesting conversation.
Storm.
Don't forget Storm either. Yeah, don't forget Storm. Never forget Storm. If you forget Storm, you're in big trouble. So don't forget Storm. That's right. As you can see, my son has watched a lot of X-Men, so he absolutely loves X-Men. But we're just waiting for Evan. But yeah, man, such a crazy time right now. to anyone who has been following politics. I don't know what's going to happen with
And don't
with Donald Trump, but he's been
and don't forget
he's been
Spider-Man.
all right. They won't forget. He's been made found guilty. So make of that what you will, and we will be following that drama as well.
And trouble
Yeah.
begins.
All right, Mister. Go to sleep, please. It is your bedtime. But yeah, so much going on, and we will get right into it coming up on this podcast. But yeah, I played the Acolyte trailer just there because it's not everything here is, and I'm sure Evan's going to agree when he comes in. Everything here is going to be easy visually. That is the easiest thing to do, which is to make something look visually pleasing. And so it's not gonna. That's not that hard to do. The problem is with what they will do with the story, and that's where everyone's pretty much hung up at, is what are they doing with the story of Star Wars, and that's going to be a big issue, as me and Evan will describe, because like him and a lot of other Star Wars fans, they've just totally left, the franchise because of the nonsense and because of the lies and because of the low quality storytelling. And so
And
don't forget what?
that Astro. Don't forget Frozen.
Asher, we're not talking about Frozen. Go to bed. It's night. All right. And we have our special guest, not really a special guest, the OG, Evan Elliott, on the show. I always call you special guest for some reason. I don't know why. Why do I keep doing that when you're a co-host?
I was about to be like, guest. I've been here since day one.
I'm sorry. It's so disrespectful. I apologize.
And I'm thinking, like, who came up with the name Black and White Podcast? Like, whose idea was that?
Exactly. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm tripping.
The show is closed.
Oh, Asher, hush.
Hey, Asher.
Hush. Lay down. It's his
There's
bedtime.
our special guest right there, Asher.
Oh, yeah. But how are you doing, bro?
Doing all right, bro. Been working a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get back on the stream.
Oh, absolutely.
I came tonight prepared for this topic.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Go ahead and welcome the people, bro.
Welcome to the Black and White Podcast, a.k.a. Thursday Night Live. I had a different setup tonight, working it from a different angle, so hopefully it's a lot more quicker and better. But I hope tonight, I think appropriately, because there's so much discourse going on, and this is a quick topic because I know we're going to get it out the way quickly, and then we'll move on to our main topic. Star Wars has just been in a constant state of flux, and it's been, story after story. Some things going good with Disney, but even the little things, even the small victories that they do get, are instantly overshadowed by what has happened with the sequel trilogy.
Baby Shark.
Hush. We're not talking about Baby Shark. Lay down, buddy. A lot of those things have been overshadowed by the sequel trilogy and just how much of a mess up that was. And it has split the fan base ever since, with a lot of fans being, and even still the commentary for the Acolyte, people are not buying into the Acolyte because of that reason, because people just aren't stupid. People know what Disney is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and then the other half, of course, just blind Disney fans who just, this newer generation, this younger generation of Star Wars fans who just refuses to acknowledge the past generations. They refuse to acknowledge how the older fans are feeling, how original fans are feeling about this, no matter what choices get made. And so I just think that it's a very tough situation, but Disney is yet again, I think, about to mess around and find out with the Acolyte because of who they hired, which is Leslie Headland, and the intentions behind the show, which I think people can talk all they want to. The product's going to show for itself. And if you're playing any kind of games with the product, then people are going to know it. And then no one's going to be interested. So, Evan, you first and foremost already know, the 411 with Star Wars. So, with the Acolyte approaching, coming up June 4th, what is your opinion on what's to come with Disney Star Wars?
Well, I honestly can't give much of an opinion of the Acolyte because I haven't, outside of some posters I've seen here and there on Facebook, I haven't really dug into it. I've heard the name before, but if it tells you anything about where my interest is with Disney Star Wars, I have not taken the time to YouTube a trailer for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going to give an opinion here or there. I think anybody that's listened to us talk about Star Wars in the past on this show, they know my opinion of the sequel trilogy. I'm not a fan, putting it mildly. I think Episode 8 was abysmal, depressing, catastrophic, awful. I mean, insert synonym for terrible. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to because I've been on this rant so much.
So many times.
Why I hate that. And it goes past Luke Skywalker. I mean, sure, that was the cardinal sin. That was the one thing I could not forgive above all else. But was it the only thing? Absolutely not. It was the fact that Episode 7 teased Sith training with Kylo Ren, which we never got. It was about the fact there were so many questions left unanswered. Who was Snoke? Who cares? We're going to kill him. Who are Rey's parents? They're nobody. There were just, Luke's going to come back and train Rey. Kind of, but not really. It was just so much that was hyped up in one film, and it was just one long disappointment after another. And then, as I always say, after 2.5 hours of a big nothing burger in Episode 8, we finally think we're going to get some action with Luke and Kylo. Oh, but wait, Luke's not really even there. And it's just, and then after that, Luke dies, and it's just like, I felt tortured. But yes, ever since then, Disney's had some hits here and there. The Mandalorian was a mass success, a show I enjoyed. And even though what was his name? Lucas Knight? Yeah. He mentioned on the last pod he hated the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
Me personally, I liked it. I mean, was it the best written story in the world? No. But me personally, I'm easy. I see Darth Vader, I click like. That's how I am. It's like a Sydney Sweeney movie. I see it, I'm gonna hit like. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But the sequel trilogy has cast a dark cloud over it in all seriousness because movies are always going to be more popular than the TV spinoff shows that you put out. At the end of the day, everything in Star Wars revolves around the movies. That's what started it all. Everything else is just an extension of the movies, like all the books that people like reading. Those books are based off of references that came from the movies. The movies came first. They're the inspiration that has served everything. And there's really nothing inspiring to go off of with the sequel trilogies. It's just, it's all bland. And I'm not even going to get into the wokeness of it because the wokeness wasn't even the most unforgivable part for me. Yeah. It's just boring. Like at the end of the day, Episode 8 is a painfully boring movie with boring characters and a boring story with just nothing. I mean, okay, good visuals, fantastic. What else? Like, what else?
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't even say that the sequels have split the fan base. I would argue there's just two fan bases. There's Star Wars fans who love the prequels and OGs, and then there's the sequel fans who are kind of their own thing. Yeah. And You know, I mean, and look, I'm not saying you can't enjoy the sequels. You can enjoy all of them, you know. And if you enjoy
Yeah.
the sequels, be my guest. Go enjoy them. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
judge you for that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the current state of like rock and heavy metal fans. Like me personally, you know me, I like classic metal, 70s, 80s, the OG metal, like Black Sabbath.
Yeah, the foundation.
I've never been big on what has become known as new metal. Really,
Yeah.
any of the, like Slipknot and so many of these other bands, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's not for me. That's not for me.
Right.
And I hear some fans that are like, oh, this is the best metal has ever been. And I'm like, this is hardly even metal. I don't even know how this is metal. And there's some of these other bands, Falling in Reverse, that call themselves metal. I'm like, what even is metal anymore? You know, and then, you know, I face the same criticism I faced when I criticize the sequels, where it's like, oh, you just want to go back to the OG stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's just, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. And the sequels are not for me. I do think they've I think they have killed a lot of hype for Star Wars. I do think that. Will the Acolyte be successful? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, Disney's got more marketing money than anybody. So if anybody can hype up a product, it's them.
I mean, dude, even with the marketing money, first of all, I think you're 100% correct in everything that you just said. Even with the marketing money that Disney has put out for the Acolyte, the numbers on the YouTube trailer did not lie. Way like a quarter of 250,000 dislikes, I think was the number, if I'm not mistaken. More than people actually liked it, and that's because they already knew what was coming, and like you said, the hype was already died down because of what the sequels have done, and the fact that, you know, I don't believe, like you said, you said it, you not in that way, but you said you're easy. You know what I'm saying? You see Darth Vader, bam, there you go. I personally don't believe that it is that hard to please Star Wars fans. I look at Star Wars Theory. I look at so many other amazing YouTube channels dedicated to Star Wars stories, to telling fan-based Star Wars stories that are absolutely amazing. The YouTube channel that used the AI picture storytelling, but then wrote his own retreatment of the sequel trilogy, was absolutely awesome, and fans loved it. So it's not that hard to please Star Wars fans. I just think that, you know, it's like you said, between the wokeness, and people are going to get upset, but I don't care. Like, you already know what you're doing when you want to talk about inclusion, when you want to talk about all these different things that you want to put in representation. Okay, that's fine. But how does that compare to it being a good story? Is the story going to be good? So it really makes you question what's going down in those writers' rooms. Are we talking about making a good story first and then put using inclusion and representation and all that? Or is our instant mindset, you know, we had to meet this quota. We got to have this many white people in it. We got to have this many black people in it. We got to have this many, you know what I'm saying, gender or queer characters in it. Whatever the case, that's what they're focusing on. They're focusing on that first, and it's starting the show instead of telling an actually good Star Wars story. And I mean, if people use common sense, which I don't think a lot of these newer fans are, look at who they've hired for the Acolyte. You're talking about Leslie Headland, someone who was an assistant to Harvey Weinstein, who's seen a lot of things that shook up Hollywood and was there for a lot of that. So, dude, I mean, what, you really thought that people were just going to be, oh, hey, Harvey Weinstein's former assistant is doing a Star Wars show. That's awesome. Let's support her. Like, come on. Let's use our common sense. Did people really think that was going to fly? No. Now, given she may not have had anything to do with that, or, you know, whatever the case may be, okay, the fact still remains. What are you bringing to the table? And then she went to Star Wars Celebration, her and the cast and crew, and they're just talking all of this nonsense about, oh, how there's no, it's time for the patriarchy to fall in Star Wars. It's time for the women to take over. Quotes like, there is no good and evil in Star Wars, and that's what the Acolyte will show. There's no good and evil in Star Wars. Leslie Headland putting on these fake tears, oh, Star Wars saved my life, God. Like, come on, dude. Really? Like, I could buy Hayden's acting in Attack of the Clones more so than I could that. And it was, you know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. And I love Hayden's performance in Attack of the Clones, and that. So that's how I'm telling the truth about this. So, they're gonna find out, and then they just put out this. Leslie Headland just put out this warning today, talking about or yesterday talking about if you have a problem with DEI and inclusion and all this other stuff, blah blah blah. We won't be tolerating it or anything like that, and I cannot consider you a fan. So all in all, just basically, if anyone calls out the inclusion and the badly written characters or whatever the case may be with this show, or any kind of political messaging or pushed agenda in this show, you're automatically a bigot and you're not a Star Wars fan. That's what she's saying. So you've already riled up the fan base off that. Did you really think that people are going to support this show? Now, of course, the show looks good. The show does look good. I ain't gonna lie, it does. But like you told me one time, you said that's a minimal requirement. The show, of course, is all this money. It better look good. And I told
exactly. People, I mean, I've always said, we went through a brief spell on this show where you had me ready to, like, my head was ready to blow because you were on here talking about Last Jedi being a 7 out of 10, and a large part of that was because of the visuals of it. And I was like, brother, man, that's such a small aspect of it. Like, you've got story to take into consideration. You've got performances to take into consideration. You've got acting to take into consideration. Like, there's so much more that goes into a film than just, is the CGI good? Like, yeah, that's an important part of it. But if you don't have a good story and interesting characters to back it up, who cares?
It means nothing.
Exactly. Right. That's my point, and that was what was really lacking with. Sorry, my mind just drew a blank here. I'm doing some research for our later topic, but that's what was lacking with TLJ, and that's what was really lacking from the entire sequel trilogy was just a lack of anything really emotionally connecting like we had in the original Star Wars films. Like, you had Luke Skywalker who you could connect with. You had Han. You had Leia. And by the way, I'm going to call you and your boy Lucas Knight out for something real quick before we stop talking about Star Wars. Because y'all said something on a previous podcast that I can't let slide.
Which was?
You two jokers were on here trying to defend Anakin's acting in episode 2. And
now,
hold on. You got to let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Then you can say what you got to say.
Go ahead.
And you made the biggest false equivalency I've ever heard in my entire freaking life. What you said was, you were saying Star Wars is supposed to be dramatic. Because if I recall, Han was dramatic at the beginning of episode 5 with Leia. That's the biggest false equivalency, nothing burger you've ever come up with. That is not even remotely comparable. Han being frustrated and telling Leia, you just want me to stay because you're in love with me, and keeping that swagger pimp, just Han being just a jerk with Leia, that is not even remotely comparable to simp god Anakin Skywalker in episode 2. I'm in agony, Padme. I just need you to love me. I just really need you because I'm Anakin and I love you. That's not even remotely comparable on any plane, anywhere, not even in a galaxy far, far away is that comparable, my dude.
I'm still disagree on that, man. I'm gonna disagree on that. I ain't even gonna go there because come on, man. Han was showing his butt. the entire first half of Empire Strikes Back, and that boy was going. That boy was head over heels for Leia.
Simping?
He was simping.
How?
He was simping.
Did he cry like Anakin?
Bruh, dude might as well have been moping sitting there on top of.
No, don't tell me what he might as well have been doing. Did he cry like Anakin?
He didn't cry. He was moping.
Thank you.
He was moping. He was moping. He was moping.
That's an insult to Harrison Ford to compare
No, it's
Hayden
not.
Christensen to the
Man
great
said,
Harrison
man,
Ford.
bro,
That is
bro,
such an insult.
bro.
You can
Man
compare
said,
him to
bro.
Mark Hamill. You can compare him to Mark Hamill if you want to compare him to a whiny character. You can compare him to Mark Hamill, but not the swagged out legend. You're not going to disrespect Han like that.
Man,
You're wrong on that one.
Man, he ain't get that swag back till about the beginning of the second half of the movie when they were in the worm on the asteroid. Now that was smooth. That was smooth. I ain't gonna lie.
Brother, what about the iconic "I love you"? I know.
Man, that boy.
and that's comparable with "I'm in agony." Oh my God!
Hey! My man was in pain. My man was in pain.
So was I watching. I was in pain.
You shut your mouth. You shut your.
I almost cried watching that scene from secondhand embarrassment.
Oh hush! Oh hush!
I mean, brother, I've made a fool of myself in front of girls before, but I ain't never broke down that hard. I've said some stuff in front of girls that came off as cringy back in my younger high school days. But I've never told a girl I was in agony.
Agony.
No, but, that's a big word I've never used.
Yeah, I got you, bro. But moving into our second convo, our second topic.
Deadpool
and Marvel, Wolverine. I'm thinking. Now I'm not saying because I've said it. You've said it. I don't think that they can reach. They won't be able to apex or cross to what they did with the Infinity Saga, which I don't think so either. It would take, if they could do it, it would take a lot of redirecting energy to what they've been focusing on, because and to me, I think in a perfect, because they've put in a lot of hard work. I'm not saying that it's easy to do things like how the MCU did it, but there's always choices that you can make, and we can look at phase 1 through 3, also known as the Infinity Saga, and we can see what choices were made. We can see where the direction was and where the care was. You know what I'm saying? The money that was being made because of the stories that were coming out. And so that's not a path that you want to deviate from. But as soon as we get to phase 4 and phase 5, obviously things take a different turn. We get a few good shows that are actually pretty decent. But then She-Hulk comes out as well, and we get some flop. We get the Eternals. We get a few projects that just weren't up to par, quality and story wise. Thor: Love and Thunder. The list goes on. With the only highlights of those films coming out that were really good, I think, were No Way Home, and I think Wakanda Forever was even pretty good. It wasn't even that bad. It was good. But you see how the path could have been with and now the story and the mess and all this. Now we're sitting in a place where the X-Men are now being introduced. Deadpool and Wolverine has a chance to do something that no other Marvel film, I think, can do. And that would probably be to sort of semi-reset the MCU's path, because everything's interconnected. The story is always going. And I think that there may be a possibility that they can bring the MCU back to somewhat of a track to build up for Avengers, Kang Dynasty, if that's what it's going to be now that Kang isn't the main focus, and Avengers Secret Wars, which I think are going to be big movies. Will they have all the hype and build up of Infinity War and Endgame? Maybe, maybe not. I think it just depends on these next few movies, these next few phases, and what the MCU chooses to do with its direction, which is very important because I think you can reach a level of hype. Not saying in phase 3 peak hype, but you can still get MCU fans to rally together and get hype for these projects again if you play your cards right. So I think Hugh Jackman being Wolverine for over 24 years, that's a blessing for him and for us as fans to have him as Wolverine for that long. And Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool, being a godsend as that character. So, Evan, with that being said, what is the path forward, do you think, from going from Deadpool and Wolverine and moving forward as the MCU shifts towards Spider-Man and the X-Men, the Fantastic Four? What path do you think going forward should the MCU take?
Well, I think the focus should definitely be on Spider-Man. I mean, I think first and foremost, Spider-Man is the most you play to your strengths. You let your most popular characters carry the franchise. So I think Spider-Man as the face of the MCU makes the most sense. People love Tom Holland. His movies have all been incredibly successful. I think the X-Men coming in, I don't think they could have came in at a better time. This is something that the MCU desperately needed because I think they knew that, okay, you've seen the Guardians disassemble, Thor's done, Captain America's done, Iron Man's done.
Yeah.
All of these faces that we've come to know and love starting way back when in the 2000s, like pre-2010. Films like Iron Man, like these characters are gone.
They're gone.
And my concern that I said after Endgame was, where do we go from here? Like you just create, where do you go once you've reached the peak of Mount Everest, which is where they were? Now, do I think it's possible for the MCU to go back to being the biggest thing in cinema? Sure. Absolutely they can. I don't think that's going to be much of a challenge for them at all. Because I think the MCU is like, if you want to put it in metal terms again, they're like Metallica. It's like, okay, Metallica released Saint Anger after releasing, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and all these other metal masterpieces. They come out with a bad album. Okay, they had a bad album. Metallica didn't disappear. They're still the biggest name in metal. They're still packing out 70, 80, 90, 100,000 seater stadiums all over the world.
Yeah.
Because the brand of Metallica commands that attention. And the brand that is the MCU commands attention. It's that simple. Even in phase 4, you're looking at, you mentioned Love and Thunder. Even that movie brought in $760 million. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, I wasn't crazy about, but it almost brought in $1 billion. It came $45 million short of that $1 billion mark. So even though these films may not be as good and have the same level of hype that Phase 3 did, there is still people aren't disinterested in what Marvel is doing anymore.
Yeah.
Right? They're not disinterested. And I think moving forward, I think Marvel could potentially, I think Deadpool and Wolverine, that's the perfect way to kickstart hype. That is the perfect way to kickstart hype and get this ship back and rolling again, because they need something after She-Hulk, after Quantum Mania, which I think has been the biggest letdown so far.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that one.
Exactly. And that's my point. You forgot about it, and Kang was in it.
Yeah.
So that tells me a lot about him as a villain. And then there was the whole situation with, what was his name? The guy that plays Kang, what was his name?
Oh, Jonathan Majors, yeah.
Yeah, Majors.
He's out of the picture now.
Yeah, sadly. So now you've got to find a new Kang.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting to see. But so they've had a few hiccups here and there, but at the end of the day, let me give a football analogy. Kevin Feige is the Nick Saban of creating these universes.
Yeah.
He just is. Like when Nick Saban was when Nick
Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, it's all right.
when he was at Alabama, I'm not okay. But in all seriousness, when he was at Alabama, every year we came on this podcast and, you know, Bama might not win the national title some years. And I'd always be on here like, so Evan, how you feel about next year? And I'd always say the same thing. I'm like, bruh, we got Saban.
Yeah.
We're going to be in it next year. Like I've got no reason to think we're not going to be in it. As long as Saban's there, we're going to be in it. We may not win it. We may not be the champion. But you rest assured, Alabama's going to be in the picture. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And as far as Kevin Feige is with Marvel, it's like, okay, is there going to be a film that reaches $2.7 billion like Endgame did?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably.
I mean, there's only been 2 films in the history of cinema that have reached that. The other one being Avatar. And that's only because Avatar had like another release in China that gave it that bump.
A whole nother market,
on one run, which is insane.
Yeah.
But that's the MCU hype. And so I think I've seen what Kevin Feige can do. The man's got vision. He knows what he's doing. I'm not going to question Kevin Feige at this point. He's been running the superhero game since we've had cinematic universes. So my thing is, as long as Kevin Feige is steering the ship, I think the ship of the MCU is going to be just fine. I have no reason to think it won't. You might hit some rocks along the way, but I mean, Disney has shown me with this, they'll listen to the fans, fix what needs to be fixed, and they'll keep on rolling.
I agree, man. I think that, and that's why I try to be, that's exactly why I try to be fair with people. You know, I've tried to be fair with Warner Brothers and the whole DC situation. With Disney doesn't make it that hard to be fair. You know, now with Star Wars, we let them know what it is. And if they want to continue doing that, because whoever they got in charge, you know, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever, they got to go because it's not working right now. And Kathleen Kennedy doesn't have a desire to listen to anybody, not even the fans. And letting Leslie Headland go ahead with, you know, the Acolyte, that just shows you right there exactly where her head is. While you have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau basically cooping the whole thing, doing their own thing. They're not saying it, of course, because they got to remain professional, but the proof is in the product. You feel me? So that speaks for itself. And it's the same thing with Marvel. Kevin Feige is listening. And I remember when you first predicted it, you said, bro, if Disney sees the money in it, they're going to do it. And to me, I was like, man, that's crazy. I don't think Disney will ever do that. Man, nah. And lo and behold, here we are now sitting with the MCU's first rated R release with Deadpool and Wolverine cussing in the trailer, violence and all. You know, Multiverse of Madness was the first like little toe dip in the pool to see what they could sort of get away with. And then now Deadpool and Wolverine is like, yeah, we're hopping all the way in. And so I'm like, hey, I'm good with it, you know, and I'm down to see what's going to come of that, because this is definitely going to be $1 billion movie. People are going to go to the theaters and see this. You got Hugh Jackman back in his comic accurate Wolverine costume after 24 years of seeing black leather and all that. Like, bro, X-Men 97 just blew anything animated out of the water. I never even thought I would say that, but Marvel's winning the animation game. You know, like, God, X-Men 97 was immaculate and hyped me up for X-Men even more. So I'm like, dude, I think that they can definitely bring some hype to this thing, and I think that there's going to be a lot to come from the MCU. Punisher, Daredevil are back too. Tom Holland is in pre-production and behind the scenes, helping to get Spider-Man 4 going. So he's hard at work right now with Spider-Man 4, which I know fans are going to be excited about. We've got a whole nother.
That's my
Hmm?
Spider-Man.
Hey man, after No Way Home, I love the guy. I give him his flowers. He is an amazing Spider-Man. I give him his flowers.
Oh yeah, he
And
was my Spider-Man after Civil War. It took me one movie to be like, yep, this is my new favorite Spider-Man. I love this kid.
it took me till No Way Home to figure. I'm like, just because they, and see, that's another thing about listening. They knew that was that's a generational debate. When you talk about who's your favorite Spider-Man, that's a generational debate because for most people, they grew up on Toby, like I did,
I did.
or you're yeah, or you're blessed enough to experience all of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what's a way that they can cut that division by celebrating them all? And they did. They celebrated them all in one movie. They had Tom Holland, Spider-Man draw inspiration and guidance from older, more experienced Spider-Man. And then in the end, he becomes his own prominent Spider-Man. He earns his respect. He earns that title. And I'm like, I got nothing else to say. I walked out of No Way Home. Now that's a Spider-Man. I walked out of No Way Home satisfied, and I will be parked for Spider-Man 4, whatever they choose to call it. I'm there for whatever.
Dude, I had every hair on my arm standing up at the end of the film where Tom was swinging around in the classic red and blue Spider-Man suit.
That was beautiful, bro.
Oh my God, bro. There were so many times in that movie where every hair on my arm was standing up. Like, and then shout out to Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina for being the GOAT Spider-Man villains.
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to them.
Oh yeah, but no, like you said, man, I forgot about Daredevil and Punisher. I mean, yeah. So I think Marvel. I mean, anybody. I'm seeing it's a very small minority of DC fans. For a split
We got to go here. Oh, man.
who thought that maybe DC has a chance to eclipse. I don't think in my lifetime, unless, and we'll talk about this in a minute, unless this new Superman movie is just 10 out of 10, unbelievable, best Superman we've ever seen, better than Cavill, better than Christopher Reeves, just the absolute most unbelievable thing we've ever seen. And then they are able to follow it up with the best Batman we've ever seen. And then they're able to follow that up with, just banger after banger after just unbelievable films.
Yeah.
But unless that happens, Marvel is going to stay on top. And they have nothing to worry about from DC.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what's a good faith indicator. And let me establish this, number one. Because I love Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is one of my favorite directors. And I support whatever he does, no matter where he is. And the focus for, I think, so many people, for people who call themselves Snyder fans, the focus should be on the director's cuts of Rebel Moon. The focus should be on all the other zombie projects and all the other films that Zack has upcoming at Netflix and for theater. That should be the focus if you're a true Snyder fan. What I'm seeing is a portion of and not all Snyder fans, because I feel like these toxic Snyder fans give a bad rap to the true faithful Snyder fans who really do love Snyder's work and have had their lives impacted by his work, such as I. I think they're given a bad name because they're spending more time, in the comment sections under every DC post, under everything. Oh, I won't be watching Superman Legacy. Oh, James Gunn does this. Oh, I won't be doing that. You know what I'm saying? This, hope hashtag restore the Snyderverse when they know it's not coming back. All this when we should be supporting what Zack is doing. And I feel like every time I have to touch on this, I feel like I'm having to preach because it's the truth. It shouldn't be this hard. Support who we support. James Gunn and what he's doing has nothing to do. What James Gunn had to do, and I know it hurt because it hurt me. What James Gunn had to do, our seats weren't, like I said, I say this a trillion times, our seats weren't even cold when we left the theater for Black Adam before, right in that moment, they decided that Henry Cavill needed to be recast. And I think when James walked into WB and had that conversation and he looked at everything that was going on, Dwayne Johnson and his egotistic, his ego and him and what he wants to do, trying to make Black Adam the face of the DC universe, trying to, what was the tagline? The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change forever. You ain't gonna do that with Black Adam. Stop. You know what I'm saying? But then again, that's The Rock. The Rock wants to spearhead everything that he wants to do. And so, I mean, props to him for trying to bring Henry Cavill back. But between that and the continuity issues, the different tones of vision, the lack of coherency since Snyder had departed and since Warner Brothers had pushed on, was just too much. And so what James Gunn saw was that this thing needs to be done right from the foundation up. It needs to be planned. It needs to be taken, boom, boom. And then he drops the news of The Gods and Monsters Part 1, which has first the installments of the shows, The Authority, The Green Lantern show, all these new live action and animated stories that will start us off, and then Superman Legacy, Batman the Brave and the Bold. He announced it. This is where we're going. Boom, boom. And I'm like, okay, why couldn't this be done the first time? Now we know where we're going. I mean, they did do it in a way. They did do it with Zack, and they announced, after this, Batman v Superman, we're opening up the universe and doing this and that. But the tone of vision and the execution and the constant butting heads between Snyder and Warner Brothers messed all that up. So the execution was wrong.
Well, and I would say sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I would say the placement of BVS was a critical error. The placement was wrong. Because you think about it, and we had this argument way back in the OG days of Jay House. She referred to it as the MCU formula, talking about how they did it. You had Iron Man, Cap, Thor, then they made Avengers. And I argue back, that's not a formula. That's just common sense. That's good storytelling. That is, here's this character, get to know them, get to love them. Here's this character, get to know them, get to love. It's called character exploration, something that you and I both agree is critical to a movie's success. I mean, look at Rebel Moon and the disaster it is in large part because we've gone 2 films in and we know almost nothing about these characters.
We know nothing about the world or the universe.
Yeah, and we're 2 movies in. And with BVS, it's like, okay, yes, we know who Batman is. But why is he so freaking miserable? Like, what's going on here? Like, it's implied that he's just at his wit's end, but it's like, okay, you're going to give us this kind of a Batman, but you're going to do it without showing us, like, what he went through to get to that point?
The 20 years prior.
And we're not going to get any of that. We're just going to get straight to old grizzly Batman. And old grizzly Batman is he's going to be the Batman for the DCU moving forward instead of a younger Batman who we can watch grow into Batman. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, that's why I ended up saying, that's why I still think that BVS is a masterpiece by itself as it pertains to it by itself, but as it pertains to being within a structure of a cinematic universe, it needed to be smaller. It needed to be split into different pieces. We needed to see that 20 plus years, or something.
And plus, I understand Snyder took inspiration from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, but if you've read the comic, he didn't take that much. Because if you read the comic, Batman and Superman are fighting for a legit, like, they know each other. They've been known each other.
They've known each other for a long time.
Yes. So there's actually emotion to the fight. There is some level of, oh man, this sucks. Batman and Superman are fighting. Superman's like, Bruce, I got to take you in. Let's do this peacefully. I don't want to. Come on, bro. And Batman's like, come take me in. See what happens. Come take me in. Come on. And then they
Yeah.
have this epic fight, and Batman ends it with just this cold-blooded. From this moment on, Clark, I just want you to remember this. Remember the man who beat you. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, that's Batman. As opposed to BVS, what we get is just this completely irrational, completely cynical, completely off his rocker, won't listen to any reason Batman. He's just, yeah, Superman's the bad guy. And Alfred, the whole movie, standing there like, well, we don't know that. Well, but he could be. But you don't know that. But if there's a 1% chance, it must be certain. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This ain't never been Batman. This ain't Batman. Like, what am I listening? This is the Punisher talking here. And so that's how a lot of DC fans, I'm not just speaking for me. Like, if you read the criticisms of BVS, that's one that comes up a lot amongst not MCU fanboys, not casual people that don't know much about. That's a Batman criticism. That's like Batman fans like myself who have grown up reading comics, know who he is, know what he stands for, know like everything we can know about him. And so to hear him say that is like, whoa,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And then you add on that the controversial takes on Lex Luthor, the controversial design of Doomsday. There was just so much controversy in that film where it's like, okay, look, bro, controversy is good to a certain extent, but there comes a point where it's like, just make it good, bro. Like, come on. Like, just give us, the DC fans, what we want. Like, instead of all these lectures about gods coming from the sky demons coming from the sky instead of hell, and all this other stuff about these lectures about God and all this other stuff that Snyder has to put into every freaking film he's ever made.
That's his specialty.
Which is like, bro, that's great that you love to harp on religion. But we just want to see Batman and Superman fight. Like, that's the name of the movie. That's all we want to see. Just give us Batman and Superman fight. And Warner Brothers didn't they gave us like 10 minutes of that after we waited for 2.5 hours, and that was another complaint people had with it. So like when it came to BVS, my point with it was that film in and of itself started the downward spiral because Warner Brothers then saw the reviews from fans. They saw the precipitous drop-off in box office after one weekend, and then that's when the headbutting started because they were like, whoa, Snyder, these reviews aren't there. The money's not there. Like, this is kind of like what's going on. And then the headbutting started. Whedon comes on, creates a freaking disaster of a Justice League movie. And from then on, it was just, let's throw crap at a wall and pray to God that something sticks. That's all it was. And then it was reboot after reboot until finally, I said all that to say this, finally I can have this much, I don't know if you can see, that much, not very much, somewhat confidence in DC and Warner Brothers because I know James Gunn has set dynamite under the foundation of the DCU, the former one, and he's blown it up. He said it's gone. We're scraping the foundation out. There will be not one remnant of the old regime here. There will be no mention of it. It's gone. It's all gone. And that's what this is needed from day one. The half reboots, the soft reboots, whatever you want to call them, that was never going to work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, no, even though I disagree with some aspects of you, and I think we've always been gonna disagree about it. I think it's important. I think it is still correct that despite, because BVS is such a divisive film, and Zach wanting to, and I think that's what we talked about too. We talked about the type of projects that Zach is really known for. We're talking about projects that are attached to deep controversy, projects that are attached to deep philosophy and things like that. Things like Watchmen, 300, all his films that pretty much a lot of his films that he's done, Sucker Punch, all these iconic films to his discography. When it comes to Batman and Superman, there is that deep-seated religious philosophical aspect of them. I think the question now becomes, was it the right time to necessarily have that kind of commentary? Which that's what Batman v Superman is, more so than anything. It's a commentary on the philosophical state of Superman and Batman. Now, was that right for the DCU? Probably not at that time, I would say. I think that if they would have let Snyder do like his own sort of one-off movie by itself where he could experiment with those ideas, BVS is absolutely fine if you want to do that. But if we're talking about a cinematic universe, probably in a world in which the MCU is the standard, you don't have a lot of deep philosophical aspects of them. There's not really a lot of that in the MCU. It's pretty much simple, straightforward stories with balance, comedy, good times, bad times, disagreements, arguments of good and evil.
I don't know, man. I would say Civil War really dived into some pretty good social commentary.
Not as deep as
I would argue deeper so and more profound than anything BVS did, because in Civil well, hold on, in Civil War you're dealing with the whole, is it better to be under a corrupt government and have order, or is it better to be free and do our own thing and risk this kind of thing happening again where innocent civilians die? And on top of all that, in Civil War, unlike BVS, you have characters that we have really grown attached to at this point.
Yeah, there's build up there.
We have characters that we are really emotionally connected to, which makes the arguments that much more painful to listen to. Like the line, I'll never forget it, when Tony Stark says, "I'm trying to keep you from tearing the Avengers apart." And Tony says, "You did that when you signed." I mean, that was a dagger to my chest. And I'm not even a Marvel fanboy. I'm a DC homer to the day I die. But that hurt me. And there's nothing like that, in my opinion, in BVS, a moment like that, because these guys don't know each other. Like, this is all just a disagreement over Batman thinks Superman is evil, and Superman, even though he's a demigod who can fly around the world in 0.25 seconds and has X-ray vision, has his mom kidnapped in the same city he's in, but he had to be dumbed down power-wise so much to make that make sense. And so, for me, there's nothing overly profound in BVS, and you're going to disagree with this, and it's going to sound like I'm insulting Snyder, so I apologize in advance. It just comes off as pretentious. It just comes off as edgelord, as look how edgy I'm trying to be. Every time Jesse Eisenberg goes on his rants about God and about, it's just like, okay, bro, daddy beat you. Congratulations. Like, you are so freaking annoying to listen to. Can someone kill you already? He is just so freaking not Lex Luthor, the megalomaniac we've always known in every single Superman iteration we've ever seen. He's just this Riddler knockoff, which I think Jesse Eisenberg would have done a better job as Riddler than Paul Dano in the Batman movie, but that's just me. I think Paul Dano did a great job. I just can't help but think that Eisenberg may have been even better, because just he can only play that one type of character, that really weird, awkward. But with BVS, I don't think the problem was the commentary. It was just a film that many people found to have bad acting and not that interesting story. It kind of went all over the place because you tried to cram too much into one movie.
Well, like I said, I'll keep disagreeing because I think that's a perfect opportunity. I don't think the timing was there. Like, I think we both agree on the timing for BVS. if you're talking about a cinematic universe, you need to take your time, one character at a time. You're already one up with Man of Steel. Do a Ben Affleck solo movie, then do a Wonder Woman, then do a whatever the case, and then build up to Justice League, which surprisingly enough, the only complete part of this whole equation that we got was ZSJL. That was like the one part where I think everyone could be like, well, that's not a bad Justice League movie. That's actually pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, ZSJL was good.
How we got there is not how I would have preferred it to happen. I think in a one-off world, which is why it is now WB confirmed. Zack's DC movies are known as Elseworlds. They're the Snyderverse. They're his, Man of Steel, BVS, ZSJL. All those movies exist in their own continuity. WB made sure to establish that when they move forward. The only problem in doing that was that 90% of 100% of what you're releasing moving forward is based in the continuity that started with Man of Steel. So there was no soft reboot. There is no, you got to start the whole thing over if you're going to get it right. So with Zack being gone and all that with him, now James Gunn comes in and there has to be a start over. And now with that being said, for Snyder fans, I think that a lot of people need to give Gunn a break. To me, this is my opinion. I don't think that there's a person alive that can look me dead in my eye, watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3, and then sit there and say that James Gunn cannot bring a built story and a built universe with a lot of good felt intentions and if he can do with Superman what he just did with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a totally different property of characters, come on, dude. Why wouldn't you be hyped for that? We haven't had a bad...
They're salty.
So, bro, we haven't had a bad Superman. Now, look, I understand what happened, and I'm closing up a little bit. I understand, and I've been through that pain. We've argued and gone over it a trillion times. What happened with Snyder was tragic, and what we do when we support Snyder's projects, when we buy the merchandise, when we do all that, we do that in the name of Autumn to support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. But anything outside of that, anytime you're out here just being toxic for no reason, you're doing that for your own personal gain. And that has nothing to do with Snyder. That has nothing to do with his projects. That's just you being Warner Brother absolutely deserved all those people are gone. They're out of there. They deserved what they got. They got the embarrassment that they got. It's over. Now it's time for DC to start a new leaf. Are you going to be there for it or not? If not, hush your mouth and move on about your life. You don't have to sit here and comment as if anyone's going to join in on your hate train of James Gunn and the new DC. If you're not going to support it, talk with your wallet. Money talks, Evan. Money talks. So if you're not going to support it, then don't support it. Fine by me. If you're not going to support it, don't support it. If you are, I'll see you at the theaters. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I've made my peace with what happened with the Snyder situation. I'm enjoying what Zack is doing over at Netflix. He's got the director's cuts of Rebel Moon coming out, which I know are going to be loads better than the PG cuts. He's got more Army of the Dead projects on the way. Zack has his full freedom to do whatever he wants, and as long as he's happy, I'm happy. And I'm also a big DC fan. I'm reading All-Star Superman, which was that picture that James Gunn posted when he announced David Cornsweet as Superman, when he announced his Superman movie. That cover came from Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. So I got the DC app. I'm reading all the comics I can. I'm reading All-Star Superman. And I love All Star Superman. It's pretty darn good. And if that comic is any indication of what James Gunn is trying to hint at with his Superman, then I think we're in for a good time.
I have a quote for the Snyder fans out there. And I think this it's a bit of an improv, if you will. But I think this quote puts into pretty accurate perspective how I feel about the whole movement. And I think you can appreciate this, Eric, because it's going to be in a way you and, well, I'm not going to lump you with the Snyder Cult fans, but I think the Snyder Cult fans will be able to appreciate what I'm about to say. Let me get into character for this. Okay. The next time they show your hashtag on Twitter, don't go to it. The Snyderverse is dead. Bury it. Bury it.
That's cold.
It's dead.
That's
it's
cold.
over. And I don't send that to you. I send that to the rest of the Snyder cult. Let it go. It's dead. It's over. It ain't coming back. It's gone. James Gunn is the head of DC now. And that's how it's going to stay. And you can show all the hashtags you want. And as far as the picture of David Cornsweet goes, I thought it looked pretty solid. Do I think it's the most amazing look for Superman ever? No, I'm still partial to Christopher Reeves, but that's just me. I love Christopher Reeves as Superman. Maybe it's because I first watched him when I was a little kid, but I've always loved Christopher Reeves, just the classic. I love that. I love that. Just that's a superhero he is a superhero can get.
Yeah.
But look, for y'all's own mental health at this point, get the freak over it. For your own, because it ain't happening, bro. It's like the guy that obsesses over the girl that's already married. Bro, she gone.
Take it. Tell them to take it from me. We've been here for over 150 something episodes. We've been through every emotion. We've been through every logic. We've been through every what if. We've been there for the live events that happened. We've been there for all of it. So take it from us. Zach has moved on. It is time for us to move on.
The Snyderverse is dead. Bury it.
And it's not a bad thing that it's over with. And this is my final point. We won the war. Like the battle for the Snyder Cut, we won. We got a whole studio to release a movie that they lied about that said didn't exist. An awesome movie. And we got it. We won. There's nothing else to fight about. We won. That's it. Why can't people just be classy? They have to respond to the toxic trolls. They gotta come on, man. That's not how Snyder would want people to act. That's not how true fans act. Chill. Let it go.
And my final point would be this. To the cult out there, get over your obsession with director cuts. For the love of God. Director cuts do not take dog crap movies and make them masterpieces. That's never happened in the history of ever, with one exception. And that one exception, that wasn't necessarily just the director's cut. That was a whole different director directing the movie. That was a whole different director vision. Never before have we seen a movie come out by a director, and it sucked. And it was just like, wow, this is terrible. But then that same director came out and added about 20, 30, maybe even 45 minutes to it. And the people go, wow, now it's amazing. No, that's never happened. It's never happened before in the history of ever. And to the Snyder cult fans out there, it's not going to happen with Rebel Moon. It's going to come out. The director's cut will come out. Will it be better than what Netflix put out? Sure. Because me presenting this cup on live right now is better than that movie was. However, I highly doubt it's going to be a masterpiece because that's never happened before in the history of ever. So please, Snyder Cult fans, get over your obsession with director's cuts and just accept that maybe he made a bad movie.
We're gonna find out when these director's cuts come out, because I will be the first one on here to let everybody know. Good or bad, I will be the first one on here to let everybody know.
Mm-hmm.
And if by chance he does do the impossible, it's on like a mo. That's all I'm saying. It's on.
This was a good one.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This was a great one, man. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Black and White Podcast. This will be up on all platforms where you listen to your podcast. It will be up on YouTube, and more clips will be shown to follow. So thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Shout out to you guys everywhere on every platform, X, Facebook, Instagram. Shout out to all of you, and we will catch you guys later, man. Peace.